If a stranger in a coffee shop asked you, "When has God shown up in your life?" you might find the question a little odd. But if you paused, chances are you'd have a story to tell. At St. Mark's, we believe God is at work everywhere, and everyone has a God encounter story. Inspired by StoryCorps, this Lent we're introducing GodCorps, an opportunity to record a short interview and share an experience of God at work in your life. We'd love to hear your story.
Hello, this is Lance. I'm here with my daughter, Kate.
Hi.
And I'm looking forward to hear this story. Kate, tell us the story of a time when God spoke to you.
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in a pretty Christian household. I was raised in this church. Yeah, exactly. I was raised in this church. And by the time I was 8, I was baptized, and my parents obviously always shared the gospel with me and told me that I should share it with others as well. And we read Bible stories and prayed and, did all the things that were a great foundation to the start of my faith when I was little. The thing that really changed my life, though, was a camp in Wisconsin. It's called Honey Rock. I know that Cassia talked a bit about this too on GodCorps. It is truly, and she was right. I listened to that one. It was wonderful. She's truly right about that. It's like, it is an incredible place that your faith just it just grows into like a beautiful thing. Surrounded by nature and other people who are just truly so God-driven that it's just like you have no choice but to become just so grounded in your faith. Sorry. But one specific time that the Lord really just revealed himself to me was a few summers ago. I think it was summer 2024. And I went to camp for 5 weeks. So it was a good chunk of time, a good chunk of my summer. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was a long time, but it was wonderful. But a few weeks before I left for camp, one of my closest childhood best friends suddenly had passed away in a car accident. Just a random summer day, the end of sophomore year, she passed away. And that was really complicated for me and for everyone involved, because it was just so like, you didn't expect it. And it was so confusing why something like that would happen to someone so young and someone that I knew so closely and personally, that I was making plans for the summer with. Like, it was just so like that. And it was very hard to understand and comprehend. Yeah. So going into camp, I knew that Honey Rock would be an incredible place to like explore like how I felt about this, where God fit into this story, because at that point I didn't know how God fit into the story because it was just so complicated. And at Honey Rock, one thing that we do in the program that I was in was that we share kind of like our testimonies, or like kind of similar to GodCorps, but more just like whole life stories of our faith. And every night we would do one person, because it would take, a good amount of time. So my night was coming up to talk about my faith story. And I knew that the end of my story, like I knew I would talk about my friend who passed away, Claire. But I would say, I knew I was going to say like, hey, this is what happened, but I don't really know where God is in this. And like, I'm struggling with my faith, and I'm struggling to understand what's going on. So that's kind of how I was going to finish my testimony. And my night was the next night that was coming up. So I went to bed the night before that. And I had the most vivid dream that I've ever had. And I will never forget it, because it was just the Lord just clearly speaking to me.
Wow.
And it was like, I was biking to her house, to my childhood best friend's house. And I got there, and it wasn't her house, but it was like the biggest, most beautiful house I have ever seen. And I knocked on the door, and someone opened it, and I asked for her, and she came around the corner in just a beautiful, beautiful pink dress. And there was like birthday balloons in the back that had 16, and she said, "Oh my goodness, like, hi, Kate." And I said hi to her, and we hugged, and it felt very real, very real. And I was like, "Hey, like, can we play?" Because that's what I would say when we were little. And she was like, you know that we can't, like, I can't do that right now. But she said, someday soon, like, that. And I was like, yeah, I do know that. And her mom was there too in the dream. It's a little complicated. I think she was behind me, but but I said, yeah, I do know that we will be someday. And I left her house and I walked away, and I didn't feel sad or mad that she couldn't play. I didn't feel discouraged, but I just said, yeah, I know that she is okay and that we will play or talk or whatever someday. And that was just like incredible. And so the next night when I shared my testimony, I got to share that story as like the ending. And I was like, yeah, this is a huge turning point in my faith. Like, this is something that's just like, I will never, ever forget that. And it's just so clear that God was present in my life, just leading me and telling me exactly what I needed to see and hear. So yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. What else were you feeling then? Any other thoughts about that?
Yeah.
Like how did, like, what happened after that, I guess?
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I guess after that, I had said I had been not like doubting, but just kind of confused about a lot of things because it just didn't make sense. So I think after that, it was just like, it really like whipped me into shape, I guess, if you will. And I just was like, no, like, I understand now that, like, I mean, maybe I don't understand, but like, this was here, and I know that she's okay. Like, I know that everything is okay. It just is like, and so it helped me to be like less confused about the whole situation and just at peace in God's, especially because I had several more weeks of camp, and I was just able to be at peace in his nature and just with him constantly praying and reading my Bible. And that was just like, my faith absolutely flourished and continued to when I came home. Yeah. So
do you think about that now often? Or?
I do. Yeah. I really do. And that really was a turning point in my faith. My faith is, I just feel so like at peace and so with the Lord and like able to go to him for anything and thank him for anything. And that's just like something that I feel like as I'm getting older, becoming an adult, that it just is like that moment really started that chain reaction in my like adulthood faith. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, that's wonderful, Kate. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
Thank you for listening to this episode of St. Mark's Episcopal Church, GodCore. If you would like to record one of these episodes and tell your story about how you've experienced God, please use the link in the notes to schedule your time. We look forward to hearing your story, and we hope that you continue to tune in to hear ours. Thank you, and God bless you.